First things first, so let's start at the very beginning. I want to talk you through Contract Supervisor Level 3. This is the lowest level of Contract Supervisor. It's the level of Contract Supervisor that I am and that you will be. It's also the level of Contract Supervisor that every other member of the Learning and Development team is. Essentially, we're Contract Supervisor Level 3s because we have employed and may employ some agency staff within the team, but most importantly, and 99% of the time, it's because we use external training providers, external facilitators to deliver training to our business, and therefore we need to make sure that they are supervised in the correct fashion. So it's the lowest level of Contract Supervisors, Contract Supervisor Level 3. It's broken down into 4 separate modules and 1 assessment. Now, some of these modules are face-to-face, and some of these modules are online. They're pieces of e-learning. Contract Supervisor Level 3, Part 1, introduces contract supervisors to the subject of contract supervising. It explains to them why Urenco has contract supervisors, why it's important that we manage contractors in a fair and legitimate manner, and it really concentrates on, and this is the key thing, the health and safety considerations of employing a contractor. The intelligent customer and facilitator of this module is a guy called Dave Davies, and he works in the compliance department. Contract Supervisor Level 3 Part 2, are you keeping up, consists of 2 elements. It consists of agency workers and security considerations. The agency workers element is in case you're ever responsible for managing an agency worker working on our site alongside your Urenco employees. It's facilitated and been designed by Caroline Welch, who works within the HR and OD department. So if you've not already met Caroline, you'll be working with her to a degree on a daily basis. The other part of Contract Supervisor Level 3 Part 2 is the security aspect. And it reminds contract supervisors of all the planning and preparation that they must do before bringing a contractor of any description on site to make sure that they have the right security clearance, the different types of security clearances that are out there, and that they've gone through the thought process of determining what level of security clearance they need for that individual to work on site. It's been designed and facilitated by one of our internal facilitators, a lady called Carol Higson, who works within our security department. Contract Supervisor Level 3 Part 3 is called Commercial Awareness. Now, this is an e-learning module, and it's been put together by our finance department, by our purchasing department, and it just reminds contract supervisors of the very basic overview of contract supervising a contractor. It doesn't go into detail. It's not how to write a contract up, it's not how to write clauses into a contract. It's just to remind contract supervisors of some very basic commercially aware aspects as they're considering bringing a contractor onto site. Again, that's an e-learning module. Contract Supervisor Level 3 Part 4 deals with emergency arrangements, and it reminds contract supervisors that whilst you and I as full-time employees might know the emergency arrangements like the back of our hand, when we bring a contractor on site, we need to think very carefully about where we're going to put them to work, what emergency arrangements may impact upon them working in the area. We need to remember to brief them on the various different alarms and procedures and protocols should an emergency take place on this site. It's been designed by Dave Dowling, who's a Fire and Rescue Services Manager, and it was put together as a piece of e-learning by myself. So there's 2 of the 4 elements so far are delivered via e-learning. And finally, Contract Supervisor Level 3 Assessment is a piece of e-learning that covers every single module that we've talked about so far. So it's a piece of e-learning that asks questions on the health and safety considerations when managing an agency worker, the security thoughts and processes to go through. It talks about and questions them on the commercial awareness aspects of being a contract supervisor, and also the emergency arrangements considerations when bringing a contractor onto site, and it knits them all up in a single, what I call e-assessment. Once an individual has completed all modules and the assessment, and they must have done all modules in the assessment, their details are then passed on to Jo Heaton, who is Peter Bradley's personal assistant, and she produces a letter of appointment which is then signed by Peter Bradley, who is the head of technical services and the sponsor for contract supervisors on site, and that individual then formally becomes a contract supervisor level 3, the lowest level, remember. If they only need to be a contract supervisor level 3, then the journey ends for them at that point. However, if they need to be a contract supervisor level 2 or 1, then obviously their journey continues. But I won't go into that at this stage. I'll leave that for another video recording.